The wrapped jewelry box sat on our kitchen counter like it was holding its breath. I straightened the silver ribbon with my rough fingers and told myself, tomorrow is the big day. I rubbed my jaw and thought about shaving the gray out of the beard so I would not look like I had just climbed off a job site when I walked my daughter down the aisle. My wife, Lisa, stared into her coffee, nails clicking the mug like a metronome. She did not look up when she said, very flat, "The wedding was last Saturday." The words hit me like a sledgehammer. The cup slid out of my hand and exploded against the granite. "What did you just say?" She pushed her phone across the counter. Photos loaded one by one. White dress, garden arch, smiling faces. And then the shot that should have been mine to live, not just look at. My daughter, Emily, on someone else's arm. A tall man in a charcoal suit, taking my place. She asked Daniel Reed to walk her, Lisa said, like she was reading a grocery list. She wanted someone more influential. Influential, I repeated, and the word tasted like metal. Our son, Tyler, 19 and proud of it, grabbed an apple from the bowl like this was any other morning. "Daniel is awesome," he said through a grin. "The guy is loaded. Real estate, investments, everything. Took us to his private island last month. He is pretty much family now. When I say us, I mean me, Mom, and Emily. He even bought me this watch." He flashed a heavy piece of platinum. Patek Philippe. He says I remind him of him. Ambitious. Ready to move up. Lisa still did not lift her eyes. "He has been mentoring Tyler. Doors at Harvard. Investment opportunities. The future a young man deserves." She blew on her coffee and added, "The kind of future you cannot provide. Those are your words, not mine." I picked up the small box, the necklace I had been paying off for 3 months. Pearl and diamond. The one Emily had admired in that downtown window. I had doubled my shifts to surprise her. "How long have you been planning to replace me?" I asked. "Replace you?" Lisa's mouth twisted. "Mark, you replaced yourself. When was the last time you took me anywhere nicer than Applebee's? When was the last time you offered our kids anything but the limits of your work boots?" "Working class built this roof and paid for Emily's degree," I said. "Was paid," Tyler cut in. Past tense. Daniel covered most of the wedding. He said Emily deserved better. That night, after the house went quiet, I sat at the table with my dog, whiskey, and my laptop. I opened our joint account. The final wedding payment, $11,000, sat there, scheduled. I canceled it. Then I opened a new account in my name only and began moving the rest where Lisa could not reach. I started a spreadsheet and titled it in big letters, Restitution. Columns, name, offense, price, status. First line, Lisa Walker, adultery, fraud, betrayal, amount to be determined, pending. Monday came with calls that felt like artillery. "Mr. Walker, this is Elegant Events," a woman said. "Your final payment bounced." I was not invited, I told her. "Send the bill to whoever took my place." By noon, vendors were threatening legal action. My phone lit up with messages from Emily. "Dad, what are you doing? The florist is calling me. The planner is calling me. This is humiliating. Please fix this." I turned the phone face down and let it buzz. That afternoon, I sat in the office of my attorney, Caleb Morgan, at Morgan & Caldwell. He spread files across his mahogany desk. "Mark, freezing marital assets is a nuclear option," he said. "It burns everything down." "She replaced me at my own daughter's wedding," I said. "With her boyfriend." "Boyfriend?" Caleb asked. "Do you have proof?" I slid a manila folder across to him. Bank statements, hotel receipts, call logs, 6 months of notes. "Daniel Reed," I said. 3-month pattern. 5-star hotels, expensive restaurants, weekend trips to places I have never been able to afford. I tapped the page that showed a room booked for 2. Credit cards do not lie. Neither do hotel registrations. Caleb's eyebrows rose. "How long have you been tracking this?" "Since my gut started talking," I said. "And there is more. Tyler wants to change his last name." My jaw tightened. "The papers came yesterday. He wants to become Tyler Reed. Adult adoption. They need my consent." "Will you sign?" Caleb asked. "Not now. Not ever." "What do you want me to do?" he said. "Everything," I said. "Freeze everything we share. File for divorce on the grounds of adultery. Fight any claim to my company. And I want Daniel Reed's full picture. Money, deals, weak points. Every rich man has something he does not want seen. I want to find his." On Wednesday, a courier handed me a thick envelope that required my signature. I sat in my truck and read the petition 3 times. Legal name change: Tyler James Walker to Tyler James Reed. Reason: alignment with new family structure. Request for adult adoption. Biological father's consent required. The words were clinical and cold and cut deeper than anything I had ever felt. My phone rang. Lisa's voice was tight. "This has gone far enough. Come home. Bring your checkbook." I did not answer. I drove in silence. The road ran out in my headlights like a blade. 20 minutes later, I stepped through my own front door. Lisa was waiting. She stood in our foyer with her arms folded, still dressed up from whatever fancy dinner she thought she had earned. I had a plastic grocery bag in my hand with a robe folded inside. The same robe I had picked out of the gravel at Daniel Reed's lakeside cottage. "You came," she said, trying to sound steady. "Good. I told you we needed to talk. I meant calm and rational, not whatever this is." I lifted the bag. "You left this," I said, "at the cottage. I figured you would want it back." Her face went stiff. The color drained out. "I was out with Amanda." "No," I said. "You were laughing over wine on Daniel's back patio. Same place his company holds through a shell limited liability company. I traced it last week." "You lied, Lisa. You always lie when you feel safe." "Mark." I let the bag drop to the floor. When Emily said she wanted someone more influential to walk her down the aisle, I thought it was her idea. Now I know whose fingerprints were on that decision. "You do not understand. I understand the hotels. I understand the restaurants. I understand the secret mentoring and the closed doors." I took a breath. "You did not just cheat. You erased me a step at a time." She moved like she might touch my arm. I lifted a hand. "Do not. We are past soft words and midnight apologies. The only question now is how fast you pack." Her voice cracked. "I did not mean to hurt you." "But you did," I said. "Now I have to decide what that means. For the house. For the company. For our kids." She stared at me. "What do you want from me?" "I wanted the truth 2 months ago," I said. "Now I want consequences." The house felt foreign when I walked through it. New and expensive things had appeared without my say. Throw pillows, abstract art, a growing wine collection. Family pictures had been shuffled, and a few were flat out missing. The wedding invitation sat on the mantel, elegant letters curling across thick paper. My name was nowhere on it. Lisa waited in the living room in a business casual outfit, like she was about to sell me something. Behind her, my son, Tyler, sprawled on the couch, his new watch flashing in the light. "This tantrum needs to stop," she said after a long breath. "Freezing the accounts. Refusing to pay for Emily's wedding. You are embarrassing us." "Us," I said. I picked up the invitation. I see Emily's name. I see her husband's name. I see Mr. and Mrs. Walker request the honor in perfect script, but somehow my actual role did not make the cut. I held the card up. $11,000 for the final payment. $23,000 in total. Every cent from 16-hour days, coming home covered in concrete dust. "Daniel helped with costs," she said. "Daniel," I repeated, and set the invitation down very carefully. "Tell me about Daniel." Her poise slipped. "He is a friend. A successful businessman. A friend who takes you to the seaside resort. A friend who walks my daughter down the aisle." "You are being paranoid." I pulled out my phone and found the photo. "Recognize this?" I asked. The image was sharp. The seaside resort. March 15th. You and Daniel hand in hand, walking toward the honeymoon suites. "That was a business meeting," she said, throat tight. "In the honeymoon suite," I said softly. "What kind of business was that?" The color washed out of her face like water draining from a tub. 3 months, Lisa," I said. "Every time I was on a road crew out of state. Every time you said you were staying with your sister." I swiped through more pictures. The Grand View Hotel. Shaw Lauren for dinner. The marina where he keeps his yacht. She swallowed. I asked, "Where is Tyler going this afternoon?" "Meeting with Daniel about the internship," she said. "The investment firm wants to interview him." "Of course they do," I said. I turned toward the door. "Where are you going?" she asked. "To introduce myself to my replacement." Reed Capital occupied the top 3 floors of Meridian Tower. I rode the elevator to 42 wearing my work clothes, steel-toed boots, and a denim jacket with my company logo stitched over the heart. The reception area smelled like money and perfume. The furniture looked like it had been polished that morning. "I am here to see Daniel Reed," I told the receptionist. Her smile dimmed when she took in the boots and the dust. I am family. You will want to see me. 5 minutes later, a heavy oak door swung open. Daniel Reed stepped out, tall and silver-haired in a suit that probably cost more than I make in a month. Behind him, Tyler bounced on his heels like he had won the lottery. You must be Mark, Daniel said, offering a manicured hand. I have heard so much. I did not take it. I looked at the man who had put a hole in my family. We need to talk in private. Daniel's smile thinned. Tyler, wait in the conference room. Coffee and those pastries you like. But I thought we were going to discuss. Tyler caught himself. Daniel, I thought we will continue in a few minutes. The slip hit me in the chest. My son had almost called this man Dad. Daniel's office was a monument to himself. Awards on the walls, photos with politicians, and a view that took in the whole city. He sat behind a desk the size of a small boat. Look, Mark, he said. I know this is awkward. Awkward, I said, staying on my feet. You took over my daughter's wedding. You are getting in my son's head. You are sleeping with my wife. I prefer to think I am filling a void, he said. Excuse me, I asked. He leaned back and touched his fingertips together. Lisa was lonely. Grace needed a father figure who could raise her profile and open doors, Daniel said, voice smooth as glass. Tyler deserves opportunities beyond blue-collar limits. Be realistic, Mark. What can you offer? A construction worker's pension, a modest house in a middle-class neighborhood, and friends who swing hammers. His smile sharpened. I can offer Ivy League introductions, trust funds, and connections across industries. I can give them the life they deserve. My hands tightened on the back of the guest chair. You arrogant piece of work. He tapped his phone. I have security on speed dial. Your family has moved on to bigger things. The only real question is whether you accept that with grace or turn it into a mess. What kind of mess? I asked. Restraining orders? Public scenes? He lifted a shoulder like none of it mattered. Lisa already spoke to her attorney about a no-fault divorce. She is being generous. You know what, Daniel? You are right about one thing, I said. I cannot offer what you offer. Triumph slipped back onto his face. Exactly, but I can offer something you cannot. He tilted his head. What is that? Consequences. 2 days later, a forensic accountant named Aaron Blake spread paperwork across my kitchen table like a quiet storm. $27,000 is missing from your home renovation account, she said, tapping a highlighted line. It was moved in pieces over 4 months into a shell company called RG Global Assets, a limited liability company. RG, I said. Reed Global. Daniel Reed. It gets worse, Aaron said. She slid over incorporation filings. Your wife's signature is on the documents. She is listed as co-founder and chief financial officer. She touched the neat cursive at the bottom. This is not a forgery, Mark. She signed it. Twice. I stared at the numbers. So while I was working overtime to save for Emily's wedding, they were siphoning money from the house fund. That is wire fraud and conspiracy, Aaron said. Those are federal crimes with real prison time. She opened a fresh folder. And Daniel Reed is not as bulletproof as he looks. The Internal Revenue Service has been investigating him for 2 years. He has a mid-six-figure tax liability and a pile of audit flags. The shell companies exist to hide assets and complicate seizure. I leaned closer. How exposed is he? Very, she said. I traced 6 properties funneled through RG Global Assets. Your wife's name is on the articles. Twice. I let out a slow breath. Then I want him cornered before he knows he is being hunted. Do you plan to confront him? She asked. No, I said, standing. I plan to warn him once, right before everything falls. I spent the next morning filing paperwork. A civil suit against Lisa for unauthorized use of marital funds. A fraud report on Daniel to the white-collar unit of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. A criminal referral to the Internal Revenue Service for tax evasion. Asset seizure requests that named every shell property Aaron had tracked. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but when they bite, they grind fine. Friday evening, I parked across from Yeppies, the upscale Italian spot where Lisa was celebrating her new chapter with Emily and a table full of society friends. Through the window, I watched them raise flutes of champagne that cost more than most people's daily pay. I walked in and spoke to the maitre d'. Please send a small gift to the party by the window. The box looked innocent, neat wrapping and a silver ribbon. Inside was a small flash drive with audio recordings of Lisa and Daniel whispering through their financial tricks, scanned bank documents showing every fraudulent transfer, a handful of time-stamped photos from hotel nights, and a typed note. You replaced me at the wedding. Now I am replacing your future. The Federal Bureau of Investigation thanks you for your cooperation. M. I took a stool at the bar and sipped water while the sommelier delivered the package. Lisa opened it smiling. Then her face cycled through confusion, recognition, and fear. She squeezed Emily's arm and started whispering. The joy bled out of the table like someone had pulled the plug. I left exact change for the tip and stepped into the night feeling lighter than I had in months. Monday broke like a storm siren. At dawn, the Federal Bureau of Investigation hit Reed Capitol. Agents poured through Meridian Tower. News vans clustered on the curb. Cameras caught neat rows of evidence boxes. By lunchtime, financial papers were running headlines about a white-collar crime ring. One shot showed Daniel Reed in handcuffs. I watched the live feed from the break room at my office, coffee going cold as his empire came apart in front of the whole city. The anchor used simple, heavy words: wire fraud, money laundering, tax evasion. Years, maybe decades, behind bars. My phone rang. I answered. Lisa's voice shook. They arrested Daniel. They froze his accounts. They are saying I am part of it. It is surprising what a signature does, I said. Your name, your responsibility. I need a lawyer. This is a misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding, I said. You took $27,000 from our joint account to feed your boyfriend's criminal machine. You signed papers making yourself an officer of his shell company. You were not a bystander. You were in it. You reported us, she said, angry now. I did not destroy anything, I said. I revealed what was already true. Choices come with price tags. Remember that word, Lisa. You will hear it a lot. I ended the call. An hour later, Tyler walked onto my construction site looking like he had aged 5 years overnight. This is insane, Tyler said, face red and tight. Daniel was arrested. Mom is named in a federal investigation. Emily is freaking out because the vendors want their money. And you did this. You destroyed everything because you were jealous. I led him into the construction trailer, opened a filing cabinet, and took out a thick folder. Sit. On the metal table, I laid out bank printouts, filings, and photos. Your hero has been stealing from us for months. $27,000 bled out of the home renovation fund. Your mother helped him. That is impossible. I touched each page with one finger. Her signature, her social security number, her name listed as co-founder and chief financial officer on his shell company. I looked at him. While I worked 16-hour days to pay for your sister's wedding, they were draining our account to fuel their affair. He stared at the paperwork, his expression sliding from anger to doubt to something like fear. This cannot be right. The Federal Bureau of Investigation thinks it is right, I said. That is why Daniel is in federal custody, looking at 20 years. But the island, the watch, the internship. He was going to help you get into Harvard with stolen money, Tyler. Our stolen money. The money I earned breaking my back so you could have a shot I never had. His hands shook as he turned the pages. I did not know. No, I said, you did not. But you liked the benefits, did you not? Same as Emily liked the attention when he walked her down the aisle. What happens now? Now you face what is real, I said. Daniel is on his way to federal prison. Your mother may be charged as well. The fancy promises were never a trust fund. They were fraud. They were theft. So what am I supposed to do? Grow up fast, I said. Learn what honest work feels like. Understand that real opportunity comes from effort, not from a criminal's handshake. This is your fault, he snapped. If you had been a better father. Better. My voice went low. I worked myself to the bone for this family. I saved for your futures. I was building something that lasts. You traded it for fool's gold because it wore a better suit. He stomped to the door, hand on the latch, and looked back. I hate you for this. Good, I said softly. Hold on to that feeling. Maybe it will remind you what loyalty is supposed to mean. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. The arraignment was standing room only, reporters with notepads, federal prosecutors in dark suits, and a line of victims. Retirees who had lost savings, contractors left unpaid, employees whose pensions had been looted. I took a seat in the back and watched my wife's lover shuffle in wearing orange scrubs and handcuffs. Assistant United States Attorney Jennifer Walsh stood, and spoke like she had done this 100 times. Your Honor, the defendant ran a layered network of shell companies to defraud investors and launder money. We have uncovered more than $2 million in fraudulent transactions across multiple states, with dozens of victims. Daniel's expensive lawyer tried to sound steady. My client denies all charges. This is an overzealous prosecution. Your Honor, Walsh cut in. We have documentary evidence tying the defendant to wire fraud, tax evasion, money laundering, and conspiracy over a 3-year period. His co-conspirator, Lisa Walker, has already given sworn testimony pursuant to a plea agreement. My heart kicked once in my chest. Lisa had flipped. She chose herself. The judge, gray-eyed and seasoned, read from the filing. Bail is set at $5 million, cash only. The defendant will surrender his passport and submit to electronic monitoring pending trial. Daniel's shoulders sagged. $5 million in cash was fantasy with his accounts frozen and his empire in pieces. Outside the courthouse, I caught up to Lisa near her attorney's black luxury sedan. She looked like the last 2 months had sanded her down. Thinner, pale, the shine gone from her clothes. You testified against him, I said. She did not quite meet my eyes. I had to. They were going to charge me as a full conspirator. 20 years, Mark. 20 years in federal prison. She swallowed. The plea reduces it to accessory charges. 5 years probation. Full restitution. How much restitution? Everything, she whispered. The house. My retirement. My jewelry. Everything I own goes to pay back the victims. Good, I said. Mark, please, she said, tears coming. I messed up, but we can fix this. Counseling. A fresh start. A fresh start? My laugh came out like winter air. You want to pretend you did not replace me with a criminal? Pretend our son does not want a new last name? Pretend you did not steal from our home to fund weekend trips? I never meant for it to go this far, she said. But it did, I said. And now you live with the bill. I turned and walked away while she cried in the parking lot. 2 months later, the foreclosure notice was taped to the front door. Restitution took everything Lisa owned. Emily fled across the country with her husband, his family wanting no part of a scandal tied to a federal crime ring. Tyler dropped out of college. Without Daniel's promised money, tuition was out of reach. He had taken a job at a warehouse. He was learning what it feels like to punch a clock. The name change petition arrived one more time, hand-delivered by a process server. I set the envelope on my workbench and let it sit there, unopened, until the paper curled at the edges. Tyler stood in the hallway outside my door, looking older than 19. The expensive clothes were gone. He wore jeans, work boots, and a sweat-stained t-shirt that smelled like real labor. I need you to sign this, he said, holding out a thick envelope. It is the same petition. Same request to change from Tyler Walker to Tyler Reed. Still chasing that dream? I asked. It is not a dream anymore, he said, voice cracking. It is survival. The Walker name is poison in this town. Everyone saw the trial on television. The news tied us to criminals. I cannot get good jobs. Schools look at me like I am trouble. Even the community college gives me the side eye. You want to know something about names, Tyler? What? They do not change who you are, I said. They just change how you hide from what you have done. I took a pen from my pocket. For a second, hope lit his face. Then I wrote 2 words in heavy block letters across the petition. Denied. Permanently. Dad, you chose Daniel over me, I said, handing the papers back. You chose his money over our family. You chose his lies over my truth. He stared at the ink like it might move. His hands trembled. So what am I supposed to do? The same way I lived with being replaced, you live with your choice, I said. This is cruel. No, Tyler. Cruel is watching another man walk your daughter down the aisle while her father sits at home. Cruel is stealing from the man who worked to feed you. Cruel is asking that same man to help you dodge the price of your own decisions. I stepped back into my apartment and closed the door, leaving my son with a useless petition and the weight he had earned. 6 months after the trial, a letter came from the Federal Correctional Institution where Daniel Reed was serving 8 years. I drove out and sat in a visiting room full of tired eyes and plastic chairs. Daniel looked nothing like the polished man from the magazines, hollow-eyed, pale, orange jumpsuit hanging on him like it belonged to someone else. Thank you for coming, he said. I kept my mouth shut and waited. I wanted to apologize, he said at last. For everything. For Lisa. For the wedding. For taking your family. You did not take anything, I said. They handed themselves over. I never set out to destroy your marriage, he said. It just happened. Nothing just happens, Daniel, I said. You courted my wife. You skimmed my accounts. You took my place at my daughter's wedding. You tried to adopt my son. Every step was deliberate. He nodded, eyes wet. I was arrogant. I thought money could buy anything. He looked around the room. Now I know there are things you cannot buy, cannot steal, cannot replace. Like what? Respect. Real family. A man's legacy. Love that does not come with a price tag. He swallowed. Your son came to see me last month. I stopped halfway to standing and turned back. What did he want? He asked if I could help him when I get out. Still chasing easy money and shortcuts. Daniel lifted his eyes. I told him to ask his father. The man who built from nothing. The man who did not need to lie to be a success. He dropped his voice. The man I tried to be and could not. I left without another word and walked into sunshine Daniel will not feel without offense for years. The last showdown was on a Tuesday evening. Tyler stood by my truck, arms crossed, like he had been waiting a long time. We need to settle this, he said. I thought we already had. You destroyed my life out of spite. Now you will not even give me a chance to fix it. The truth hurts, I said. Daniel was going to help me, he said. He was going to give me opportunities. With stolen money, I said. With criminal connections. With lies. I did not know, he said, voice breaking. How was I supposed to know? You did not care where it came from, I said. Not as long as it was easier than earning it. Not everyone can be the perfect blue-collar hero like you, he snapped. Some of us want more than a working-class life. More what? I asked. More money. More respect. You do not earn respect by taking what you do not deserve, I said. You wanted chances handed to you by criminals. You are just jealous, he said. Daniel had everything you do not. Everything I do not, I said. Like what? Money, power, class, the ability to give people what they need without making them. He searched for the word, grovel. And what did I have that he did not? I asked. He faltered. What do you mean? I had a son who respected me, I said. A wife who loved me. A daughter who wanted me to walk her down the aisle. I had a family built on something real. I paused. Had, past tense, because you all traded it for fool's gold. When the gold turned out stolen and the story collapsed, you wanted me to shield you from your own greed. He stepped in close, fists tight. You could have forgiven Mom. You could have worked it out. Instead, you chose revenge. I chose consequences, I said. There is a difference. Is there? He shot back. From where I am standing, you look just as destructive as Daniel. You are right about one thing, I said. I am destructive when people betray me and try to erase me. I do not forgive and forget. I make sure they remember why they should not cross me. He swallowed. So what happens now? Now you live with what you chose, I said. Your mother chose Daniel over me. She ended up with federal charges and bankruptcy. He stood there, breathing hard, and then he looked away, as if the truth itself was too bright to face. Daniel chose money over integrity, I said. He got 8 years in prison. Emily chose status over family. She got a marriage built on lies. And you, I looked at my son, you chose fantasy over reality. What you got was reality. Tyler lunged. It was a wild, scared punch more than a fight. I caught his wrist and twisted just enough to turn him without hurting him, and he stumbled into the side of my truck. That is the best you have? I asked. He charged again, hooking me around the waist. We went down hard on the asphalt. He swung blind. I locked his wrists and held him there with the kind of strength that comes from years of hauling rebar and sheetrock. This will not change anything, I said through my teeth. Hitting me will not bring back your trust fund. I hate you. He screamed, tears tracking the dust on his face. I hate what you did to us. You destroyed everything instead of letting it go. Good, I said. Hold on to that. Maybe it will teach you what loyalty is supposed to mean. I let go and stood, brushing grit off my jeans. Tyler lay there, chest heaving. His fancy watch, the last shiny piece of that brief, borrowed life, was spiderwebbed with cracks from the fall. Get up, I said. He did not move. I said get up. He pushed himself upright, swaying. I am done with you, he whispered. I am done with this family. I am done with all of it. Finally, I said, climbing into my truck. Something we agree on. Through the windshield, I watched him stand there in the lot, small and lost, and I put the truck in gear. I did not look back. A year later, I was in the office of the small construction consulting firm I built after selling what I had left. I was reviewing plans when a quiet knock came. I looked up. Emily stood in the doorway. She was thinner, in clothes that said her world had gotten smaller. "Hello, Dad," she said. "Emily." I nodded toward the chair. She sat and worried the strap of a discount store purse. "I have been thinking about everything," she said. "The wedding. After the wedding. I owe you an apology for shutting you out, for choosing Daniel, for believing Mom when she said you did not understand how important appearances are." I waited. "I was wrong," she said. "I see that now. What Daniel did to our family, what he took," she swallowed. "I should have asked where the money came from. I should have questioned more. I should have, could have, would have," I said. "None of that changes the past. I want to try to fix things between us." "Fix what?" I asked. "You made your choice. You wanted a man who could lift your social standing. You got one. The fact that he turned out to be a federal criminal is not my problem." Her eyes filled, and I felt nothing. No urge to save her from it. "It was never about you not being good enough," she said. "I said those things because I thought I deserved better, because I thought Daniel could give me what you could not. The difference is simple," I said. "What I offer is real. What he offered was stolen. I know that now." "Now," I said, "after the arrests, the trials, the headlines. After your husband's family cut ties. After your circle found out what you stood next to." She flinched. I shook my head. "You do not want reconciliation, Emily. You want absolution. You want me to tell you that we can snap back to family like none of it happened. Can you forgive me?" "I already have," I said. "But forgiveness is not forgetting. It is not pretending the fire did not show who you are when the room fills with smoke." She stood, composure slipping. "So this is it. You are going to punish me forever for one mistake?" "I am not punishing you," I said. "I am protecting myself. You have already shown me what you do when someone waves something shinier. Why would I hand you the chance to do it again?" She reached the door and turned. "For what it is worth, I loved you. I still do." "I know," I said. "But love that comes with conditions does not hold. Love that can be traded for a better table is not love that keeps a house together." She left without a word. I went back to my plans. On my desk, a single family photo remained from the last Christmas we all pretended to be fine. I held it, studied the smiles, and then set it face down in my drawer and closed it. Some wounds never knit. Some cuts go too deep for any bridge to span. Sometimes the only way to save what is left of yourself is to let the people who hurt you live with the bill they ran up. At home, the jewelry box still sat on the kitchen counter, wrapped, unopened, forgotten. A late gift to a moment that never came. A reminder that lost chances do not circle back. Consequences do. They linger. They teach. They last.